deeper into careers of the future and what the future might hold for us, I'm thrilled to introduce Harsh Jain, CEO and co-founder of Dream Sports and Dream11. He is the visionary behind Dream11, overcoming 150 rejections on his journey to building a groundbreaking fantasy sports platform with an enviable base of 220 million users. Harsh has an undergraduate degree in engineering from the University of Pennsylvania and an MBA from Columbia Business School, so 2 Ivy League degrees. And he's dedicated to revolutionizing the sports industry for his fans. He's very passionate about cricket, football, and technology, merging his passions and doing what he really loves doing. Harsh has made Dream11 a household name today in India. He's a youth icon in India, looked up by millions of young people here in India. But despite all his fame and success, he remains modest, grounded, and simply focused on his mission. So firstly, Harsh, thank you so much for building what you've built for India. And thank you so much for this conversation.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me. Should be fun.
All right, terrific. Okay, so as we start thinking about the future and what the future holds for us, as you helm this sort of organization, sit at the top of a fantasy sports organization, why, from your vantage point, is it even important to think about the future? Why keep a lens on the future?
Well, but the future is where you're kind of headed, right? So if you don't have a goal, if you don't have a path, then you're just going to go all over the place. And we've done that before. And when we started out, we started with fantasy sports and we weren't very clear about our future. Like as 22-year-old kids, I was 17 years ago, I was 22 and we started Dream11. And that time we were just like, we just want to work in digital sports with fantasy sports, but then we did sports blogs and forums and news and stats and live scores and games and also fantasy. So if you don't focus on the future, but you don't have a clear path of what you want to do, you'll just end up doing a whole lot of everything. And when you do a whole lot of everything, you're clearly doing a whole lot of nothing.
Okay, so the future allows you to sort of have some foresight and sort of strategically plan your journey for the future.
Yeah, just more focus, right?
More focus. Okay, great. Okay, now keeping that focus in mind, what are some of the trends you are seeing impacting your industry? Just broad macro and micro trends you're seeing.
Well, I think that especially for sports tech, I can speak for sports tech and sports overall, of course, you've seen the privatization of sports with the IPL first giving rise to then, Pro Kabaddi League and ISL, and then people even tried with like hockey, badminton, table tennis. So it's been amazing to see the diversity of sports in India that's trying to get going with like having leagues, but also the depth of cricket has increased because now every state is also having its own league. So I think that we moved a lot from like only international cricket and other sports non-existent almost to leagues and state leagues for different sports. I think that's great.
That's being spurred by privatization. So just money coming in from the private sector.
Yeah, but it has to start with like the federations, right? The federations have to allow it. So like it's because the BCCI created the IPL that gave rise to all of this.
Okay.
And every federation for every sport has to work with the private bodies. So I think it's
a combination of public-private
partnership, yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
I think on the tech side, it's like amazingly exciting, right? You have sports engagement led by fantasy, of course. So we've all gone from like 50 years ago, sports was just, people used to listen to radio. Then we got black and white TV. Then we got color TV. But then we were kind of stuck on color TV for like 20 years, right? Like we just watched on color TV and we maybe moved to mobile. We moved a device, but the content was not very dissimilar. And I think since fantasy came in, we've seen this massive shift from a passive audience to an active audience. So we're seeing this huge tectonic shift in terms of people saying, no, I don't want to just watch a match. I want to participate in that match in some way. And so fantasy sports was the start that scaled up now. And now we're starting to go head into like AR, VR, and because of Apple Vision Pro now mixed reality, MR. So you can imagine like having a table in front of you. On your dining table, you can have like Wankhede, and the match is going on, and you can see like as if you're inside Wankhede, and it's there on your dining table. So it's like you're at Wankhede, but you're not really. You can go and you can start seeing, you can put on a pair of VR.
So the mixed reality is the one where you can see it sort of happening in front of you. Like can we slice
Augmented reality. So augmented reality augments reality, right? So it's like on your general surroundings, you can augment reality on top of that, right? Virtual reality is when you're fully immersive. So you can wear a pair of glasses and you can be sitting within Wankhede in the dugout next to Sachin and Virat and see the reactions, right? And millions of people can do this with one camera there, right? So you can see it from that view. And then you have mixed reality, which basically gives you that immersive experience, but while you can still see around you as well. So you're not fully lost into that. And so we're starting to see some unbelievable use cases there in sports. Apart from that, I think sports wearables are also just starting to get going. You'll see all the players nowadays, professional athletes, wearing those little kits around their chest, and people are wearing rings or bands and tracking. So we're entering the age where athletes are actually athletes, teams, leagues, they're all tracking performance. And they take that performance and they have analytics teams that actually take that and tell athletes how to get better. It's not just, a coach who is going by experience, but now they're combining data and experience to like really take the level of coaching up to another degree. So I think wearables and AR, VR, MR are two really exciting areas in the future.
Okay, so wearables you're already seeing them, where we're already seeing athletes wear them.
Yeah.
In the future, are we going to see just more uptake of wearables, or are we going to see more refined analytics and data coming through? What's going to happen?
Yeah, so at the base of all this is data. So, you went from like a 1 camera setup to a 2 camera to a 4 camera to a 8 camera to a spider cam, the things hanging on those cables in the matches. And then you're also now going to a place where literally you have sensors all over the ground. So you can, now you have things like which are fun, which are also like the stump mics, which you can hear some of our famous cricketers abusing and some of, but that's the fun of the game, right? You get to actually hear them. And, but there'll be sensors all over the grounds. So you can actually see what velocity, today you can see in cricket what velocity the ball was thrown at, what speed. But you can't see the speed of the bowler's run up. Okay. How fast is the bowler running in? At what height is the bowler releasing the ball? Right? Like how much swing, what degree of swing or what degree of spin did the bowler get? When the bat came off the ball, how hard did the batsman hit the ball?
So you see all the tiniest of aspects beginning to get measured.
I mean, just imagine tomorrow you'll be able to say, okay, it's the last ball of a match, 6 runs to win. And you can see the heartbeat of the batsman, right? Someone who's going to have a lower heartbeat is going to be able to play that ball much better than someone who's at like 200, right?
Correct.
But they're so jittery.
Right.
So, these are the things you can censor which actually make a difference in sport. So, who should take strike.
Correct.
The person who can actually, breathe and maintain his...
So the captain can also use this data real time to sort of figure out who to send on the court, etc.
So I think sports analytics are going to be just immensely, exponentially increasing in the future.
Okay, but since you touched upon VR glasses, etc., where do you see this uptake coming? Are you seeing more people going to shift from watching on television screens with their families to now independent VR watching? Is that the trend?
At least from my personal experience with VR, after I put it on for like half an hour, I get a headache, right? But for that half an hour, it's unbelievable. So I think, look, the first headsets came out really bulky. Then they're thinner, then they're thinner. Now, if you see something like the Meta glasses, they're like normal Ray-Ban glasses with these little two cameras here, right? So I think if you remember phones, right? When we were kids, the phone was like a brick. You could you could use it
So
for
you see the VR, let me see they're getting going to get sleeker and slicker.
So
But you
just
see people
today,
using them.
today you have a SIM card in your watch. Your watch is a phone also. You don't even need a device for it anymore. You know, like an independent device. So I think over time, we do see a future, maybe slightly more distant, but where your entire VR, AR is on in your eyes. You don't have to wear, they're in lenses.
Okay.
But, or at least like very soon in the future, you're going to have VR as a pair of normal glasses. Like I'm talking about single digit, like in 2-3 years, I would say, maybe 5 years at most. I would guess that we'll move fast enough to have VR, not just AR, as a normal pair of glasses.
Okay, wow. Okay, so you will see this becoming more sort of individualized, independent viewing
Yes.
experience.
Fully independent.
Fully independent.
Imagine, you and I could be having this talk, sitting next to each other, exactly like you are here, but sitting on different parts of the planet.
Okay, okay, great. Okay, let's talk a little bit about fantasy sports. So tell me, from where you are right now, where do you see fantasy sports in India? Specifically, let's talk about India and then we can talk about the world as well.
Yeah, sure.
Where do you see it moving to? Are you seeing more sports coming into its fray? Are you seeing more user base coming into? What are you seeing as trends in fantasy sports specifically?
So it's a little harder to predict, at least, the total addressable market, or, you call it TAM, SOM, SAM, whatever, right? But like, what is the actually serviceable, obtainable market is a question mark, because each user that plays fantasy today is a user that's never played fantasy before. It's not like we're asking people to take a current habit and move to a new one, or like take shopping offline to shopping online with e-commerce. With a scale today, we already are at 220 million users. Now, when we started, people didn't think we could get to 1 million users. Then they thought we'll tap out at 10 million, then 25 million, then 50 million, then 100 million, and so on, right? So, but I can give you some basic stats. Like in very mature markets like the US, we've seen that 75%, 80% of online sports fans have played fantasy, have tried out fantasy. Now,
when you say online sports fans, are these people who are watching sports online?
Yes,
Is that simple as that? Okay.
Watching or following sports as well.
Okay.
You could go to like a cricket bars and just follow the score. You could go to a Geo and
like a sports watcher. Anyone who's consuming sports, 75 to 80% are on a fantasy platform.
75% have tried fantasy sports.
Okay.
Now, if you extrapolate that to India and say, chalo, fantasy sports in the US has been there for 50 years. So, you grew up with it. So you can't take that kind of expectation here. But let's say I would say that I would hope that at least 50% of the Indian online sports fans base will at some point try fantasy sports. So we are at 22 crore users. There are 220 million users. There are 800 million who are online sports fans. So we believe that around 400 million, that's the total reach of all the potential fantasy sports players in India over the next 4 to 5 years.
Okay, and are you talking only about this cricket, or is this?
Well, cricket is the superset of all sports fans in India. It's unfortunately or unfortunately, it's cricket first is the superset, and then all other fans are part of that, because if you have 800 million online cricket fans,
then everything's covered.
Everything comes under that. Right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Are you seeing the sort of supremacy of cricket remain where it is? You're going to see the sort of monarch of the sports world remain, or are you seeing some sort of upheaval in the audience?
both. From our data, we've seen that cricket just is not stopping to grow, right?
Okay.
Because the IPL continues to grow from strength to strength. There is now a World Cup in 3 out of every 4 years, and the World Cup, and the year that there is no cricket World Cup, there is a Champions Trophy, which is a mini World Cup. So there's literally basically a World Cup every
Every
year
year. Okay.
in cricket, along with an IPL every year. The IPL is also expanding from like 64 games to 74 games, now 84 games and 94 games. Um, Along with that, we are seeing cricket leagues come up in every state, from UP to Karnataka to Tamil Nadu to like states are having, very, very professional leagues.
Wow.
So
Okay.
what you're seeing is that cricket has been growing rapidly, but to your point, kabaddi, football, these two sports, from our point of view, at least the fantasy data we see, continue to grow.
Okay.
The others are a slightly lower tick, but they're still continuing to grow. And they're, see, sports is also led by like heroes, right? India was a hockey country, right? India, like official sport, the India's official sport is hockey, right? National sport, I mean. But 1983, Kapil Dev and team won the World Cup. And at the same time, when the hockey team wasn't doing so well, because I believe we moved to start to play AstroTurf internationally, which we hadn't played in India. Cricket came and won the World Cup, and then we just became a cricket country, and we never looked back. Now, I don't know about you, but I have never ever been interested or seen a javelin throw competition in my life.
I've seen one in school, but yeah, that was a long time ago. Okay, so what you're trying to say is like, as long as we win, unless of course.
Then once Neeraj Chopra came in, now everybody wants to watch javelin, and everybody's trying it.
You're saying we need to win. We need to win nationally, internationally, at the big leagues to
Yes.
have a superstar that people can sort of idolize, and then the
Yes.
sports picks up.
Yeah, like badminton, was played, but not today. I believe someone told me badminton is the number 2 most played sport in India. Second largest, and that's a lot because of, PV Sindhu and Saina and all these superstars we have, which has inspired a new generation.
Okay.
And all thanks to one man, right? Like one Gopi actually is like just brought around this entire superstar badminton.
Okay, so since that point makes a lot of sense. You need this icon, you need one superstar to sort of lead the charge, and then the sports get some attention. What's leading to this shift? What's happening? How are we going to get these superstars to be born in the next 5 years? Is it going to be private money, public money, more stadiums, more training, more coaching, analytical coaching? What's happening?
I think just if you're asking me what has to happen, everything.
Everything is.
It's not one, there's no like silver bullet, right? The government is now taking Khelo India and Top Scheme, and we're hearing from athletes that they're truly contributing in a large way to the athletes' lives, right? I've already spoken about BCCI and IPL, and then AIFF and football with ISL, and with Kabaddi, the AKFI with Kabaddi, they're all trying to do their bit, right? I believe the big catalyst that wasn't there before is now private money coming into sport. From the corporate houses to private equity, people want to buy a team. When they buy a team, they pour money into buying the team. The league gets the money. They raise the bar. They pay players more. They send money down to grassroots. The professionalism comes up. The broadcasting quality comes up. Broadcast rights then go for like billions of dollars, and that money comes back. So it's a virtuous cycle, right? So I think you need to have more companies that can make money from sports, more corporates that are buying teams as actually like an investment, along with private equity. And then you need to also have CSR. More corporates putting up CSR money. Like for us, obviously, right? Like it's for us, 100% of our money in CSR goes towards sports. In fact, we have a CSR requirement, which is like a fraction of what we do.
Sure.
the Dream Sports Foundation, because that's giving back to sports. So I believe a lot of private money has to come into sports, both in CSR and in terms of commercial private investments. And the government's doing a great job in pushing sports. Like our prime minister is very, very like enthusiastic about pushing sports to the point where we are hosting the Youth Olympics in India in 2030.
Okay.
And
Like
hopefully
obviously, because there's a soft power angle to sport as well.
it's completely proven like scientifically, right? Like every developed nation, sports was one of the early signs of,
Nation building,
countries
nation
moving to
building.
developed nations, because you build infrastructure, you raise the hopes of a nation. Like this whole virtue cycle helps hugely.
Okay. So now with this advent of more private money coming in, the government paying more attention to the sports sector, what are some of the industries you see mushrooming? What are going to be some of the sort of new age businesses that open up in the next 5, 10 years to sort of capitalize and to also obviously thrust this sector forward?
Yeah, but like I said, nothing too much. I think a lot of other industries, like I said, data and media. I think those two, along with a lot more people with like talent management.
So when you're saying data, you will see people, wearable devices will go up, the back-end data analytics and capture will move up. When you say media, what do you mean? Like what
Like I said,
specific?
AR, VR, mixed reality, the way we consume. So a lot of companies, if you see, even if you see like Apple Vision Pro, right?
Hmm.
In their first trailer of like the top 5 things to do in Apple Vision Pro, one thing will be about sports, always. If you see, anyone talking about AR, VR, any kind of media, it's usually gaming and sports will actually be the top 2 things they talk about most, because those are the highest forms of engagement with users.
So that's more on the hardware side, right? Like that's more the physical hardware.
Yes, that's, yeah.
Okay, where do you see traditional media in terms of broadcasting, etc., shift with this sort of new hardware coming in? Are you going to see these collabs like telephone
Yeah.
companies and devices?
Honestly, like I personally cut the cord for TV and cable at home like 5 years ago, right? Um, most people I know, at least in their 30s, are doing the same, and I think in the 20s they don't know the concept of cable only, right? So I think there's a tectonic shift away from cable to OTT platforms. I think the same thing 10 years down the line, you will see a lot of people just having glasses, right? You don't need this 100-inch or 50-inch or whatever TV on your wall. You just wear glasses whenever you want, and you can see you want a 500-inch screen, you see a 500-inch screen, right? You can actually design based on what you need anywhere, anytime. So I think that our entire media consumption is going to change drastically with 5G already being rolled out and 6G being spoken about, with Starlink, and now, well, basically satellite internet. And now all the Indian corporates are also getting into satellite internet. I believe Jio, Airtel, all of them are getting into it. Just imagine, you will not have a problem of like call drops or data drops. We both know, right? Like everyone who's listening to this knows that if you're going home, that 1 spot, 2 spots, 3 spots.
Absolutely, we all know our.
And I can say on Zoom, I can tell people, listen, 1 minute, my call will drop. I'll come back in a minute. Just when you have satellite internet, and this is in Mumbai. Think about, like, this is in the financial capital of India, right?
Correct.
Once you get satellite internet, you literally have internet everywhere all the time, connectivity.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's going to change a lot.
But what will happen to broadcasting rights? As you rightly mentioned today, broadcasting rights is a big deal, right? It's big money, it's a big deal. What will happen to that with the advent of this sort of new hardware? Do you foresee that shifting as well?
Yeah, it's the same thing like cable and OTT, like cable and online. What happened was that cable was like 100% of the rights. Then cable became 90%. Then it became 75%. Today,
so you'll see a shift happen. Okay.
Yes, so today it's 50% already. I think in the next life cycle, it might even be 25%, right? So the same way, online will get split into, connected TVs, mobiles,
And
and
devices.
and different AR, VR.
Okay, great. And what about other careers emerging? Are you seeing a big gaming revolution? Is there what is esports looking like, and how is that going to shape up with sort of this cricket supremacy continuing, more sports coming into the ambit? How are these sectors going to shift? Esports and gaming, if we can talk.
Yeah, so I think esports, look, I think esports is great. Esports has, it's competitive video gaming, and it's becoming an Olympic sport now, right? So it's well on its way to becoming an Olympic sport. Even the Prime Minister himself just met a bunch of esports gamers right now. And if you haven't seen that, you should see it. It's a great clip about how even at the Prime Minister himself, our Honorable Prime Minister is recognizing esports and its importance to the youth. It's a very powerful signal. And all that time, me as a youth, I wish I could have had this clip, right? As a kid explaining to my parents that, listen,
It's a legitimate career.
I know I can also, it's a legitimate career. I can also win like a medal. Like I can be standing next to Neeraj Chopra tomorrow.
Right.
With a gold medal for India, playing competitive gaming. I mean, it's wild, right?
It's wild.
But
It's wild, but it's legitimate now. It's an absolutely legitimate career.
Absolutely, and India's actually got a significant advantage in terms of our agility and our processing power and our hand-eye coordination. We have a significant, advantage.
Are there specific sports within the e-gaming space? Are they based on underlying sports, and is that going to shift?
Look, esports has multiple things, and so I think that's one thing that's still up for grabs, is that what defines an esport, right? Which games are allowed as official. So I think once you start seeing it fully enter the Olympics, there will be a demarcation saying that, okay, this is a real esport, and the rest can be potentially casual gaming. But I think, look, one thing I have to say, and this might sound weird coming from me, but finally, we built all this because we're sports fans, right? We still want. I have two young boys, right? And I want them to head out. We speak so much about AR, VR, media, and all of this. Like, I think the future of sports still has to be go and play.
Go play in the real world. Play in the field.
Play in the real world. Talk to people. Interact with people. Right? Like, so I think we all have to do whatever we can to get people to continue having amazing infrastructure, astroturfs throughout the country, good grounds. Finally, all of this comes from the root love for playing sports.
Okay, so you're going to need more coaches, more trainers, sports therapists.
Coaching, nutrition, infrastructure. These three things are like very, very much required to grow a sporting nation.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Dream11. I mean, it sits at the intersection of sports and technology. So we've spoken a lot about sport. Let's talk a little bit about technology for a company like yours. How is this technology going to shift in the next 5 years? How much AI are you using? What is the power of analytics that you're consuming right now? And what is the shift you're seeing coming there?
Yeah, the amount of data we started crunching now is ridiculous, right? Like I think we have petabytes of data a day, and it went from gigabytes to terabytes to petabytes. It's like ridiculous amount of data that our data. We have 120 strong data team on premise, right? We now have an AI center at Columbia University in New York in collaboration with Columbia University. We actually have a Columbia Dream Sports AI center in New York, because the amount of data engineering, data science, and we're dealing with, it actually powers our entire product. And so we have to work a lot with um, causal, with reinforcement, with machine learning, and a lot of our entire revenue actually is determined by some of these methodologies. So using them the right way. So we do a lot of work in data. And in fact, the funny part is that our company name is Sporta Technologies Private Limited. The word Sporta comes from sports data.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, so heavily data, heavily data, heavily analytics led.
Yeah.
What's going to happen in the, so you're already processing this quantum of data. You have data centers you're saying stationed around the world. What happens in the future? Do you see data centers becoming more efficient? Do you see the same data center being used to pack up more data with their efficiencies improving? What is going to happen in data storage since you touched upon data?
I mean, look, you're seeing all kinds of craziness with this NVIDIA H1000 chips, and we're seeing um, every company now getting into it because of NVIDIA added like $1 trillion of market cap in the last like year or whatever it is. And we're seeing now the start of quantum computing, right? The true quantum computing with qubits, once that becomes commercial, that is a seismic leap, right? Like here we're talking about incremental. I think Moore's law also that we all studied in our engineering and all, like, um, you can essentially double
The rate of acceleration will.
it, it keeps doubling every 2 3 years, whatever it was, right? That kind of has held steady, but when you have things like quantum computing and qubits, you can actually exponentially change the amount of data you deal with. It is unbelievable. And so I think with AI, we're really going to start seeing a lot of AI coming even into sports. Today, you have very, very basic AI in sports, but it's already started, right? You have some coaching happening that you can actually bowl and you can put that video up or you can bat. And AI will actually correct your posture, correct your action, do everything that you'd want to send this to a coach to do.
Sure.
So I think AI is going to play a huge part in transforming coaching and en masse, essentially, right? Like our problem is the number of coaches is minuscule based on the number of like athletes and young players in the
Absolutely.
country.
Sure. Okay. But from a running a fantasy sports
Sure,
perspective,
sure.
where does AI come into play for you guys? What is the application of AI in your sector?
So our entire core revenue model runs around creating contests, and those contests have to be underwritten by us before they start, and we guarantee the prize money, and we have like a 15% margin. So sometimes you can end up guaranteeing prize money and it doesn't fill up 80%, then you take a 5% hit.
Oh,
You have
wow.
to pay out of pocket.
Okay.
Right? So it's like, and this 5% hit, like for a 60 crore contest is 3 crores.
Yeah.
You can lose 3 crores in one day in like 10 minutes, right? So machine learning is at the core of our entire contests. And that's how we are able to run so many contests concurrently for so many users, cohorted by each user based on their based on personalization for them. This is not possible humanly. It's literally impossible. If you have 220 million users and you need to personalize which contest goes to whom, it cannot be done without machine learning and AI. So we also have AI being utilized now in different parts of the business, right? We're trying to use it. I just want to say it's not just about product and tech. AI is a horizontal now, which will transform every single. It's like how tech used to be, right? People used to call technology a vertical before. If you think about like 10,
Sure.
15
That's
years,
very beautifully framed. It's no longer a vertical, it's a horizontal. Very,
yeah,
very
15,
nice.
yeah, 15 years ago, you were an engineer, so you did technology, right?
Sure.
But like if you're an artist, you don't do technology.
Sure.
Today, if you technology is a horizontal.
I'm going to quote this in the book. It's beautifully framed. Lovely.
Sure. I mean, tomorrow AI is going to be horizontal. Like
Are
today,
you seeing are you using it? Are you using it for your HR practices?
I was just saying that. So today we have AI helping us go through like, let's say I put up a job and I get 1,000 resumes. How do you have someone go through 1,000 resumes? They're gonna have fatigue. They're gonna miss some good ones. AI can actually do 80% of the job and take those 1,000 and give you, here are the 50 that you should look at.
Are you using it currently?
Yes,
Yes.
well, we are using services that use it.
Sure. Okay.
There-
So currently
there-
you're using a third-party product or app or something that does it.
Look, there's no point of us getting into non-core AI use cases because
Sure.
literally, like my friend told me something really funny. He works in AI, and I met him for lunch, right? And he was like, "Dude, I'm so out of touch with AI. I haven't looked at the updates from today morning."
Sure. Wow.
It's just no, it's obviously a joke, but
Right.
it's
No, but it's a
also
reality, kind of
yeah,
like a
you know, if you
nuanced
notice
reality of
daily,
this.
the amount of new things coming out daily is just crazy. My point is like our legal team is actually looking at AI replacing the ability to sort through thousands of our contracts that we have, figure out which one has what end date, start date, which standard terms are missing from which contract. Like when you get an NDA today, right? Let's say you and I want to sign an NDA, you would still read it, right? But a non-disclosure agreement is super standard. There is no reason to actually read it. Even a paralegal or like a junior lawyer, it's a waste of their time also. You can just have AI tell you these are the two clauses missing from a standard NDA, right?
Okay, so it looks like you're already using it. It's sort of seeped into your organization already.
Yes, we actually have an AI hackathon that we run. So once a year for the last couple of years, we've been doing this AI hackathon where we get every team, not just a product tech, every team, including legal, admin, HR, finance,
To suggest like ideas.
have to go and build something which AI can help them use.
Wow. Okay. So okay, great. So you're already seeing this uptake. You're already seeing it absorbed into your company.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now since you're using so much AI, data, machine learning, etc., what is the workforce that you're seeing coming to you? You know, how refined is this workforce? How much training are you putting in, and where do you see the sort of workforce shifting in the future?
Look, here's where I bring out my old school, old fashioned approach. I hate remote work. Right?
You hate remote work, okay?
No, so I'm gonna
Even
go
with
out there.
even with the techies and the dev teams.
Yep, we actually did this. This is where I believe like either extreme doesn't work, right? In this day and age, you can't be full on-prem, right? But you can't be full remote. I personally hate it for my work because I'm CEO, and literally my work is collaborative work, right?
Yeah, I've seen your desk. It's right in the middle of your office with all these people around you. It's beautifully set up.
I think the energy,
The energy, yes.
it's also like literally osmosis, right? Like you need you actually learn by just having intelligent people around you, walking up to them, listening to them, talking to them. But I think for individual work, for individual contribution, deep learning, deep work, remote working is helpful, right?
So like which roles in a company do you think this
No, but
sort
like,
of...
so like even an engineer, there will be some days where they just need to like be alone, no noise and code, right? The rest of the time they need to be talking to product, design, peers in technology. So what we've done at Dream 11 is we've kept one work from home a week optional. We still believe 80% of your time should be in person, 20% of your time can be work from home. And that's a good balance that we've found. I don't believe that, this full remote has been a disaster for so many people. And so I believe hybrid is the future.
Okay, so you don't see the office space going away. The office as an institution will remain.
I cannot imagine a company. Just imagine in sports. We're talking about sports, right? Imagine you told me that every athlete in our Indian team will train on their own.
Sure.
Have a video chat before matches.
Sure.
And the first time they ever play with each other in life will be on the field during the match.
Sure. Okay, fine. Point taken.
Chemistry work.
Okay, so no work from home for you. What about the skill set? Are you seeing a labor force that comes to you that's skilled well enough for you to absorb them? Or are you seeing some gaps in skilling going on in the country as you're recruiting such high quantum of numbers?
No, I think they've gotten better and better and better. The quality we see coming out of engineering schools today is significantly better than 10 years ago, and significantly more aware of like the latest coding technologies, they've played around with it, they've built something. I think more than that, just the degree of entrepreneurship you see in the youth today is a far cry, it's like amazingly better than 10 years ago. You know, everyone's done something in their college, right? Everyone's tried to do something. And just the thought of like potentially being an entrepreneur also makes you want to try new things, which is amazing for, you know, getting that kind of talent in.
Okay, so you feel like the workforce is fairly skilled. Are you seeing when you're looking at employees, when you sort of try to hire people, when you look for the AI folk, or let's say you look for the ML folk, do you look for horizontal skills as well? Or you're like, hey buddy, I need you to come in and code. As long as you can code, I'm fine.
It depends on the level, right? So at an early level, we're just looking for like people who are strong in their basics because they don't know what they're going to do. We don't know what they're going to do. We're going to throw them at a bunch of things and see what interests them and what they're good at. If you're looking at someone who's like 2, 3 years experience, then you are looking at more individual contributor roles. So you're looking at someone who says, okay, I'm really good at like reinforcement or like machine learning or like, you know, in AI and or I'm really good at Java or whatever it is, right? If you're looking at someone who's like 7, 8 years of experience, you're looking at someone who was deep and is now able to do a BLL broad as well, right? You start wanting to have more T-shaped, that you're really good at one thing, but you're able to work with product, work with design, work with marketing as an engineer, right? And the higher you go, the more you want, you know, broad and less deep.
Okay, so you're saying it obviously depends on the evolution of the employee, early stage to late stage. Okay,
Yeah.
but if you were to sort of give advice to someone in high school who's like, hey, I want to build a career in analytics, how would you suggest they skill up? You know, is it just going to college and getting those hard skills? What should they be doing? How should they be thinking?
Talk to Reach Ivy.
Sweet. Okay, sure. So tell me, as an advocate and as someone who I'm guiding these students, right? Someone comes to me and say, hey, I want to build a career in data analytics. You know,
Yeah.
what would you, since you have this industry experience and lens
no,
of the
but,
future?
no, but seriously, I think the amount of top top like education that is free today on the internet is ridiculous, right? You can literally get access to all the Ivy League professors, their talks, their like
So are you saying, but
lectures.
still the skilling is hard skills? You feel like they should be just focused purely on the engineering, coding? Is that the skill set they should be going after?
I think that for something like analytics, they would need a fair degree of hard skills, yeah. For
Okay.
something like analytics, like for something like product management, you need a lot more softer skills, right? For design, you need a mix of both. You know, product management is all about working and collaboration, right? Design is you have to be good at art, like you have to be good at design, at UX, UI. For engineering, analytics, you have to be good at that function.
Okay, so first you're saying go pick up the core skills and then build on the rest. Okay,
Yes.
let's as we start sort of tapering down this conversation. What are challenges you're foreseeing? You know, you reached a great milestone in your life, and obviously I know as how ambitious you are, and I know you have your eyes set on bigger targets. What's going to come in between, if anything, between you where you are today and where you want to be? You know, what sort of keeps you up at night? What are some of your primary concerns?
I think, you know, I'll say something that's a little tangential to what you're saying. I think to be an entrepreneur, you have to be crazy, right? You have to be obsessed to the degree where like the rest of your life happens when you're not working, but by default, you're in work mode, right? If you want to build something, that's you have to get there, right? And you'll also build something when you're that crazy about solving that problem. I think as I've scaled, my challenge today is actually also like knowing that I've been doing this 17 years now. This is the 17th year. And we have to understand that this is a marathon and it's not a sprint. And if I want to get to the next 17 years, then I also need to balance my work life balance a little bit.
Sure.
I have an extremely understanding wife who you know very well. And I have 2 kids, and we have to all find this balance. I think that one advice for others would be like, if you want to be an early entrepreneur, don't ask for work-life balance, right? You're not gonna get it. If you want to build something, you're gonna have to sacrifice, right? You can't have work-life balance and create something out of nothing, right? But I think for me, the challenge today is that how do I make sure I don't burn out?
Sure.
And I actually like my wife helps me a lot with that.
Sure.
And she's helped me a lot with the business earlier, and now she's like helping me with like the family side while I still continue going crazy at work. So I have to learn to balance a lot more. And I think that's the key to longevity.
Okay, great. That's very beautiful. So, sort of being mindful of your mental health, being mindful of your work-life balance, ensuring your relationships are kept intact. Anything on the tech or the policy front that you feel like, hey, if these things don't keep pace, then how do I, as an entrepreneur, make Dream 11 what I want it to become? What are hindrances that you see coming up?
I think policy plays a very large role in our country and more in every country once you've reached a certain scale. So I think it's, for us, the road from zero to $1 billion was like, no one really cares until you're a growth startup and you've grown, right? Once we crossed that, we saw a lot more policy involvement. And today we're hoping that the government is going to regulate our space and make it much clearer about what you can and cannot do. So I think, yes, as any company that scales will be regulated at some point, because if you're a disruptor, there have to be rules around what you can and cannot do. And so I think that is one key clause for us, which we're waiting for now, and we're hoping that, and maybe too early to say, but the new Modi government
Sure.
will be looking at regulating the space. They've already shown a keen interest in doing that before. And after the elections, I'm very confident this will be regulated for the betterment of sports and gaming in our country.
Okay, so some level of policy support and clarity in terms of regulation. Are you
Yes.
worried about the technology side at all?
No, I think technology is just, honestly, let me give you a simple example about Web3. Nobody knew there was a Web2 until Web3 came.
Sure.
My point is, people don't care. Do you know how your TV works?
You say the average consumer doesn't really care about what's going on in the back end.
Nobody cares. I don't know. I don't know exactly how my phone works. I don't need to know. I need to know how I can use it, right?
Sure.
And so I believe technology will keep changing, moving, evolving, transcending. But our job is to solve problems using technology. Nobody actually cares about what tech is being used. They care about the problem that you're solving for them.
Okay. So technology not issue, some support in terms of policy, and it looks like the overall sports arena is quite ripe for you to take fantasy to many, many different sports and sort of really expand the market on that front.
Hopefully so.
Hopefully so. Okay. All right. Great. On that note of optimism, Harsh, thank you so much for doing this. You've really transformed the sports space, India, lots of youth in India. Of course, you're a massive inspiration for many people. I wish you all the very best in your journey forward. And I look forward to continuing the conversation with you. Thank you for always being accessible and so helpful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vibha. This is awesome. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.